A single father, driving a yellow school bus on a foggy morning, makes one split-second choice. Instead of turning down his usual street, he takes a different route. Minutes later, the street he skipped explodes. Dozens of children are alive because of him. Overnight, he's called a hero. Neighbors flood his home with food, veterans salute him in the street, and news cameras can't get enough. But then, whispers begin. Did he really know? Why did he turn? And why are powerful people suddenly working so hard to silence him? As the town divides, one truth becomes undeniable. His choice saved lives, but might cost him everything. So when saving children makes a man a hero in the headlines, but a target behind closed doors, what happens next? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. The fog hung thick over Hearthfield that Monday morning, turning the streetlights into pale halos that barely cut through the gray. Darius Cole checked his mirrors for the third time before pulling the bright yellow school bus away from the depot, the diesel engine rumbling beneath him like an old friend clearing its throat. "Morning, mister." "Cole!" Maya bounced into the front seat, her purple backpack landing with a soft thud. She pulled out her sketch pad before even buckling in, pencil already moving across paper. "Morning, baby girl." Darius shifted into second gear, muscle memory guiding his hands while his eyes tracked the empty street ahead. The fog made everything look different, softer, but somehow more dangerous too. The first stop came at Oak and 3rd. The Henderson twins climbed aboard, their matching raincoats squeaking against the vinyl seats. Then came the Nguyen kids at the corner store, followed by little Rosie Palmer with her grandmother waving from the porch. At Riverside Avenue, Tomas Alvarez waited beneath the stop sign, shoulders hunched into his thin jacket. Behind him, Abuela Martinez stood guard in her house dress and slippers, arms crossed against the morning chill. "Buenos dias, Señor Cole," she called out as Tomas climbed the steps. "Morning, ma'am." Darius touched the bill of his cap. "Tell him to sit up front today. Gets less rowdy up here." Tomas slid into the seat across from Maya, clutching his backpack like armor. The older boys in back had already started their Monday morning chaos, trading basketball cards and arguing about Saturday's game. Darius pulled away from the curb, humming low under his breath. The melody of "Wade in the Water" mixed with the squeal of brakes and children's voices. 23 kids on board now, with 4 more stops before school. His fingers found the worn route map tucked above the visor, edges soft from 3 years of checking and rechecking. The bus rumbled past the old mill, its broken windows like empty eyes in the fog. Past the Methodist church, where Pastor B would already be setting up for the morning prayer circle. Past the barber shop, where Mr. Jackson would just be flipping his sign to "Open." "Hey, Maya, look." One of the 4th grade girls leaned over the seat. "Did you draw that? It looks just like Mr. Cole's bus." Maya held up her sketch, a careful study of the dashboard, complete with the photo of her mother tucked into the corner and the small wooden cross hanging from the mirror. "She gets her talent from her mama," Darius said, catching Maya's eye in the mirror. The pride in his voice carried over the engine noise. They turned onto Maple Street, and that's when it hit him. The smell came sharp and sudden through the cracked driver's window, sulfur mixed with something chemical, something wrong. Darius's hands tightened on the wheel. His body remembered this feeling from 15 years back, sitting in a transport truck outside Kandahar, every nerve screaming danger before his brain caught up. The kids kept singing some song from the radio, clapping along. Maya's pencil scratched steadily across paper. Tomas stared out the window, lost in whatever world quiet kids escaped to. But Darius knew. The smell grew stronger as they approached the intersection of Maple and 10th. His usual left turn waited 30 yards ahead, right past the bakery and the hardware store. His foot eased off the gas pedal. The radio crackled on his hip. He pulled it free, keeping one hand steady on the wheel. "Bus 7 to dispatch. Static." Then, "Go ahead, 7. Got a road concern at Maple and 10th. Taking alternate route." Say again, 7. You're breaking up. Darius clipped the radio back without waiting for a response. The wheel turned smooth in his hands, muscle memory from 1,000 other split-second decisions, right onto Willow Street, instead of left on Maple. The bus lurched slightly, and several kids looked up. "Why we going this way, Mr. Cole?" asked one of the Henderson twins. "Road work." Darius kept his voice level, steady. "We're taking the scenic route today." The smell faded as they moved down Willow, replaced by the normal morning sense of dew and diesel exhaust. Darius's shoulders stayed tight. He'd file a proper report after drop-off, get someone to check that intersection. Probably nothing. Probably just the sewers backing up again after last week's rain. But his gut said different. And his gut had kept him alive through 2 tours, and kept these kids safe through 3 years of ice storms and flooding. Maya looked up from her drawing. "You okay, Daddy?" "Just fine, baby. Just fine." Tomas shifted in his seat, fingers wrapped white around his backpack straps. The boy's eyes darted between Darius and the window, something flickering across his face recognition maybe, or memory. But he stayed quiet, swallowed whatever words wanted to come. The bus rolled on through the fog, leaving Maple and 10th behind. The children returned to their songs and chatter, unaware that their Monday morning had just shifted course, unaware that their steady, hymn-humming driver had just changed everything with a turn of the wheel. Darius checked his mirrors again, catching a glimpse of the route they didn't take disappearing into the morning gray. The ground trembled first, then came the sound deep and wrong, like thunder trapped underground. Darius hit the brakes, smooth but firm. The bus rolled to a stop 3 blocks from Jefferson Elementary. Children pressed against windows, voices rising in confusion. Through the driver's side mirror, he watched the eastern sky bloom orange against the morning gray. His radio exploded with static and voices. Phones started pinging throughout the bus, parents' numbers programmed for emergencies. One of the older kids pulled out his cell, face going pale as he read, "Mr. Cole," the boy's voice cracked. "Maple and 10th just it says there was an explosion." The bus erupted, kids shouting, some crying, all pressing toward the windows to see the smoke column rising where they should have been 3 minutes ago. Darius stood, using his command voice calm but carrying authority. "Eyes on me. Everyone stays seated. We're moving to school now." His hand stayed steady on the wheel, but his mind raced. That smell, that turn, 3 minutes, maybe less. The school parking lot was already chaos when they arrived. Parents abandoning cars with doors open, running toward the bus lanes. Teachers pouring out of the building. Sirens wailing from every direction. Darius parked and opened the door. Single file. Stay together. Ruth Bennett pushed through the crowd, her usually perfect gray hair wild, hands shaking. She grabbed the bus door frame, counting heads as children filed past. 17, 18, 19, 23. Darius finished. All here, all safe. Her composure cracked. She pressed a hand to her mouth, tears cutting tracks through her morning makeup. The news said, a school bus was scheduled to be at that intersection. The parents thought, "We took Willow." His voice stayed level, but his knees wanted to buckle. Smelled gas. Took Willow instead. Parents swarmed the children, lifting them, clutching them, sobbing into small shoulders. Through the crowd, Darius spotted Abuela Martinez pushing forward, her weathered face fierce with worry, until she spotted Tomas. The boy ran to his grandmother, burying his face in her worn cardigan. Maya stood beside the bus, sketchbook pressed to her chest. Darius dropped to one knee, pulling her close. She smelled like pencil shavings and the strawberry shampoo he'd fumbled with that morning. "You saved them," she whispered. "You saved everyone. Just took a different road, baby. That's all." But word spread faster than the smoke still rising to the east. Parents who'd just clutched their children now turned to him, tears and relief making their faces strange. Someone gripped his shoulder. "Mr. Henderson, whose twins rode every day. You knew. Somehow you knew. By afternoon, Darius's small house overflowed with casseroles. The doorbell rang every few minutes, neighbors with covered dishes, church folks with prayers and hugs. His army buddies from the VFW arrived in a convoy, standing at attention on his front lawn until he came out, embarrassed. You don't need to. Yes, we do, said Tommy Kowalski, who'd served in the Gulf. They saluted, crisp and serious, and Darius had to return it, throat tight. Maya sat at the kitchen table, surrounded by colored pencils. Her drawing showed their yellow bus with massive wings spreading from its sides, feathers made of street signs and route numbers. Below it, she'd written in careful letters, Daddy's Different Road. The first news van arrived at 5, then 3 more. Sophie Lynn from the local station knocked politely, notepad ready. Mr. Cole, can you tell us what made you change your route? He stood in the doorway, Maya peeking around his hip. Smelled something wrong. Made a call. But you violated protocol. The transportation department says routes can't be altered without. I radioed it in. He kept his voice calm. Did what felt right. By 7 o'clock, his flip phone buzzed with a number he didn't recognize. The producer spoke fast, excitement bleeding through professional polish. Good Morning America wants you live tomorrow. We'll send a car. I've got to drive my route tomorrow. Mr. Cole, your national news. Single dad bus drivers split second choice saves dozens. That's the headline everywhere. CNN, Fox, everyone's running it. Through the kitchen window, he watched Maya showing her drawing to Pastor Bia, who'd arrived with the church choir. The women clustered around his daughter, praising her art, making her smile, a real smile, not the careful ones she'd worn since the funeral. More neighbors arrived. The Nguyens, from 2 doors down, with spring rolls. The Jackson family with cornbread. Old Mrs. Patterson, who usually complained about everything, stood on his porch with tears streaming down her face and a pan of lasagna in her arms. You saved the Brennan boy, the little one with the leg braces. You saved him. The living room filled with people, with warmth, with the kind of noise his house hadn't heard in 2 years. Maya moved through the crowd, showing her angel wing bust to anyone who'd look. Darius found a quiet moment on the back steps, head in his hands. Ruth Bennett sat beside him, still in her school clothes, voice soft. You did something remarkable today. Just turned a wheel. You listened to your instincts. You chose those children over protocol. She paused. Their parents will never forget. I'll never forget. Inside, Maya laughed bright and real. Through the window, Darius watched her standing on a chair, holding court with her drawing while neighbors listened. She looked like her mother in that moment, confident and glowing. For the first time since the funeral, his house felt alive. For the first time in 2 years, his daughter saw him as more than just a sad man trying his best. The smoke had cleared to the east, but sirens still painted the night red and blue. The coffee in Darius's mug had gone cold 3 times. Through the kitchen curtains, he counted 14 reporters on his lawn, cameras pointed at his front door like rifles. Maya ate her cereal in small bites, flinching each time someone knocked. Can we go out the back? We're going out the front, baby. Head up. But when he opened the door, the questions hit like shrapnel. Mr. Cole, did someone warn you about the leak? How did you know to turn? Were you tipped off? He kept Maya behind him, moving toward his truck. A blonde reporter shoved a microphone forward. Some people are saying you knew more than you're admitting. Some people should focus on the kids who made it home safe. At the depot, yellow buses sat in neat rows. Lionel Drake waited in his office, safety manual open on his desk. The supervisor's thin face showed no emotion as Darius entered. Hell of a thing yesterday. Lionel tapped the manual. Saved those kids, no doubt about it. Just did what felt right. That's the problem. The manual turned to a highlighted section. Page 47, subsection 12. No route deviation without dispatcher approval. 0 exceptions. I radioed, a vague concern. After you'd already turned. Lionel's fingers drummed the desk. I've got the state breathing down my neck. Insurance companies asking questions. You know I respect you, Cole. Your record's spotless. But this, he gestured at the manual. This is what keeps us from lawsuits. Across town, Sophie Lynn sat in her beat-up Honda, scrolling through public records on her phone. 3 complaints about gas smells near Maple and 10th in the past month. All marked, investigated, no issue found. She screenshotted everything. At school, Maya found Tomas behind the playground equipment, knees pulled to his chest. I knew, he whispered, heard hissing by the bakery. 3 days ago. Why didn't you tell? Marcus said I make stuff up. Said, nobody listens to kids like me. Tomas picked at his shoelaces. Should have told your dad. Maya sat beside him, their shoulders touching. He would have believed you. I took a video on my phone. The sound. But I deleted it because I was scared. Scared of what? Everything. Online, the story sprouted wings, twisted ones. Facebook comments ranged from praise to paranoia. Guardian angel or inside information? One thread asked. Twitter dissected the dash cam footage frame by frame. A Reddit post titled, Bus Driver Who Happened to Know, gained thousands of upvotes. Sophie Lynn knocked on doors along Maple Street. The bakery owner, Mrs. Chen, spoke in hushed tones. I called about the smell twice. They said it was probably sewer gas. Who's they? Riverworks. The contractor. Told me not to worry. That evening, Darius's kitchen smelled like Abuela's tortillas and slow-cooked beans. She'd walked right past the reporters, telling them in rapid Spanish what she thought of their questions. Now she stood at his stove, cooking enough for an army. You saved my Tomas. Her voice cracked. My only grandchild? He's a good kid, Elena. He wants to tell you something, but he's scared. She flipped a tortilla with her bare fingers, unbothered by the heat. I told him brave men like you understand scared boys. Maya set the table, careful with her grandmother's good plates, the ones they rarely used anymore. The TV played in the background, volume low, until Mayor Chen's face appeared. We want to thank our first responders for their swift action. Darius reached for the remote, but Councilman Harper's voice stopped him. This tragedy could have been so much worse. Our firefighters, our police, our emergency personnel, they're the real heroes here. We're looking into infrastructure improvements, rest assured. Maya's fork clattered against her plate. He didn't say your name. Doesn't matter, baby. He's standing there in his stupid suit, and he didn't even... Her voice rose. You saved everyone. Everyone. Abuela muttered something sharp in Spanish. Even without understanding the words, Darius caught the tone. The councilman continued on screen, smooth as oil. We're conducting a thorough investigation into the cause. Safety is our primary concern. Then why didn't they fix it? Maya stood, fists clenched. Tomas heard it days ago. Maya, it's not fair. She ran to her room, door slamming hard enough to rattle the pictures on the wall. Abuela touched Darius's arm. She's right. That man, Harper, his smile doesn't reach his eyes. Through the window, Sophie Lynn's Honda idled at the curb. She held her phone up, recording Harper's press conference, then typed rapidly. Her story would run tomorrow. Prior complaints ignored before Maple Street explosion. Darius cleared plates in silence, listening to Maya's muffled crying through her door. The hero treatment felt hollow when the man in charge wouldn't even speak his name. Outside, cameras still waited, hungry for angles he didn't have. His phone buzzed. Lionel Drake. Meeting tomorrow, 8 a.m. Bring your union rep. The tortillas had gone cold. Dawn crept through the kitchen window, painting gold stripes across the table where Darius and Maya sat with bowls of oatmeal neither touched. Outside, news vans lined their street like vultures on a wire. A reporter practiced her lines in the reflection of their mailbox. They're still here. Maya stirred her breakfast into mush. Eat something. Baby. Not hungry. She pushed the bowl away. Dad, What happens if they fire you? The question hung between them. Darius had spent the night running numbers: rent, groceries, Maya's art supplies, the car payment. His savings would last 3 months, maybe 4 if they stretched. "We'll figure it out. That's what you said when Mom got sick." The words stung, but she wasn't wrong. He'd said those same words in the hospital waiting room, holding her small hand while machines beeped down the hall. Your mom would have done the same thing, taken that different road. Maya's eyes filled. She always said you had good instincts, said that's how you kept people safe in the army. Sometimes good instincts aren't enough for bureaucrats. What's a bureaucrat? People who care more about rules than what's right. Maya reached across the table, her small fingers wrapping around his calloused ones. Mom would be proud. I'm proud. The school parking lot buzzed with whispers when they arrived. Parents who'd praised him yesterday now huddled in clusters, stealing glances. Ruth Bennett waited by the entrance, her gray cardigan wrapped tight against the morning chill. "Maya, head on to class. I need to speak with your father." Once Maya disappeared down the hall, Ruth guided Darius to her office. Certificates and children's artwork covered every surface. A photo of her late husband in his firefighter gear sat prominently on her desk. "I wanted to thank you properly." Her voice stayed professional, but her eyes held something softer. "Away from the cameras. Just doing my job." "No." She stepped closer, close enough that he caught the scent of lavender soap. "You did more than that. You listened to something beyond protocol." Her hand found his arm, a gentle squeeze that lingered. "Those children are alive because you trusted yourself." Heat spread from where she touched him, unexpected and unsettling. He'd forgotten what it felt like, that flutter of possibility. "Ruth, I know about the meeting. The board." She released his arm but didn't step back. "I'll be there. Speaking on your behalf. You don't have to." "Yes, I do." Steel crept into her tone. "Martin would have done the same thing you did. Protocols don't mean much when lives hang in the balance." The moment stretched until a knock interrupted. Ruth's secretary poked her head in, breaking the spell. That afternoon, Darius found Pastor B on his porch swing, 2 cups of coffee steaming on the rail. At 70, she moved like someone who'd learned patience the hard way. Her worn Bible sat beside her, bristling with sticky notes. "Figured you could use decent coffee. That depot stuff tastes like motor oil." He accepted the cup gratefully, settling beside her. The swing creaked under their combined weight. "Heard about the board meeting?" "News travels. Always has in Hearthfield." She sipped slowly. "You know what Joseph did when the angel told him to take Mary and Jesus to Egypt? Ran from Herod. Took a different route. Middle of the night. No explanation to the neighbors, no permission from the temple, just packed up and left because something bigger than rules told him to." She pulled out a sticky note covered in her spidery handwriting. Matthew 2:13. "Sometimes God's safest road looks like a detour. Tell that to the school board." "I intend to." She tucked the note into his shirt pocket. "But more important, you tell yourself. That voice you heard, that nudge to turn. Some folks wait their whole lives to hear that clear." At the bus stop for afternoon pickup, something had changed. Instead of the usual chaos, children stood in a loose line, holding papers. Tomas stepped forward first, trembling, offering a crayon drawing of a yellow bus surrounded by hearts. "We made these for you." One by one, they presented their artwork. Angels with bus wheels for wings, roads that curved around danger, a stick-figure driver with a cape. Each child whispered, "Thank you," as they handed over their creation. Sarah Kim's mother approached, tears streaming. "My daughter rides your bus." "If you hadn't turned." She pressed a card into his hand and hurried away. Hope bloomed in his chest. Maybe the town understood. Maybe his phone rang. "Lionel. Board called an emergency meeting. Tomorrow, 2 o'clock. "About?" "Your breach of policy. Legal's involved now." A pause. "Darius, I respect what you did, but they're taking this seriously." "How seriously?" "Bring your union rep. And maybe a lawyer." The phone felt heavy as lead. Through the bus windshield, he watched parents collect their children, some waving, others averting their eyes. The artwork lay beside him, innocent and bright. At home, Maya had taped the angel drawing above the kitchen sink. She hummed while doing homework, her mother's habit when concentrating. The doorbell rang as Darius started dinner. A woman in a severe blazer stood on the porch, tablet in hand. "Mr. Cole? I'm from Child Protective Services. We've received a complaint about child welfare concerns. This is routine, but I'll need to ask some questions and see the home." Behind her, cameras swiveled toward his door. The hope he'd gathered throughout the day crumbled like old concrete. Someone had called CPS. Someone wanted him not just fired, but broken. Maya appeared in the hallway, eyes wide with fresh fear. The morning sun cut through the depot's grimy windows as Darius walked toward the time clock, lunch bag in hand. Other drivers nodded but kept their distance. The break room conversation died when he entered. Lionel waited by the bulletin board, holding a manila envelope. "Don't clock in." The words landed like punches. Around them, drivers pretended not to watch. "Administrative leave. Effective immediately." Lionel's jaw worked as if chewing something bitter. "Board's orders. Your pay's frozen pending investigation." Investigation of what? Saving kids? Of unauthorized route deviation resulting in potential liability. Each word sounded rehearsed, hollow. "Your bus key, please." Darius's hand moved to his pocket, fingers finding the worn metal. 3 years of morning starts, afternoon runs, field trips. The key warmed in his palm before he set it on the counter. "How long?" "Board meets Thursday. Until then." Lionel shrugged, the gesture carrying more apology than words could. The walk to his truck stretched forever. In the rearview mirror his bus sat idle, morning light catching its yellow paint. Route 47. His route. Not anymore. At home a white card fluttered on the door, official seal catching the light. Child. Family Services. Notice of scheduled home assessment. Date. Monday. Time. 9 a.m. Purpose. Welfare evaluation following community concern. Inside, Maya sat at the kitchen table. Math homework abandoned. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. "They sent me home early. Said you weren't driving." Her voice climbed. "Dad, what's happening?" "Paperwork issues." "Temporary." "Don't lie to me." Tears threatened. "I heard Mrs. Patterson whispering. She said someone reported you. Was it because I told about Tomas hearing the hissing? Did I make things worse?" "No, baby. No." He pulled her close, feeling her shake. "You told the truth. That's never wrong." But his voice cracked on never, and Maya heard it. The grocery store offered no refuge. Darius grabbed milk and bread, keeping his head down, but Sophie Lynn materialized by the cereal aisle, notepad ready. "Mr. Cole. I've been investigating the Maple Street explosion." No comment. "I found records. 3 complaints about gas smells in that area over 2 months. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "All marked resolved without repair logs. Did you know about them?" I said no comment. "Someone's covering their tracks. The explosion wasn't random, and your suspension isn't either." An older woman passed, shooting Darius a look, sympathy or suspicion, impossible to tell. "Please leave me alone." Sophie pressed a business card into his basket. "When you're ready to talk about who really endangered those kids, call me." She vanished between the aisles, leaving Darius staring at organic cornflakes he couldn't afford without his paycheck. At checkout, his debit card declined. Heat crawled up his neck as the line grew behind him. He fumbled for cash, counting quarters, while a teenager sighed dramatically. "Need help?" Jim Stewart, a veteran from the VFW, reached for his wallet. "I'm good." "Sure you are." Jim handed the cashier a 20, for his groceries and mine. Pride burned, but Darius nodded thanks. Outside, Jim stopped him. "Some of us know what you did was right. Politics don't change that. Some of us..." Not enough. Not yet. Jim climbed into his truck, but we're working on it. Evening brought Abuela to their door, arms full of grocery bags, Tomas trailing behind. Nobody puts my neighbors on leave without feeding them first. She commanded the kitchen like a general, pulling out ingredients for pozole, while Tomas and Maya set the table. The smell of hominy and pork filled the house, temporarily masking worry. That supervisor, he's a coward. Abuela chopped cilantro with violent precision. And whoever called CPS? Sin vergüenza. Shameless. It's procedure, it's harassment. She pointed her knife at him. You saved my grandson. You saved all those babies. And now they punish you for thinking? Through the window, the street looked different. No news vans, no neighbors with casseroles. The Hendersons walked their dog on the opposite sidewalk. Mrs. Chen, who'd brought dumplings 2 nights ago, drove past without waving. They're scared, Darius said quietly. Of what? Taking sides. Abuela muttered in Spanish, something that made Tomas's eyes widen. After dinner, as Abuela packed leftovers, she gripped Darius's hands. Her fingers, gnarled from decades of sewing, held surprising strength. Monday morning you call me. Before CPS comes, we don't let you face them alone. I can handle. No, we stand together or we fall apart. That's how they win, making us afraid of each other. Later, after they'd gone, Maya brought her sketch pad to the couch. She'd drawn the bus stop, but now the children stood apart, isolated in their own small bubbles. Is this how it's going to be now? Darius wanted to lie, to promise everything would return to normal, but the empty street outside, the silent phone, the declined debit card, they all testified to a new reality. I don't know, baby. I honestly don't know. The house settled into darkness, Act One's warmth fading like an old photograph left in sunlight. The bells of First Methodist cut through Sunday morning fog, their bronze voices calling the faithful. Darius adjusted Maya's collar outside the church doors, both of them hesitating. Maybe we should skip today. We don't skip church. But his hand trembled on the worn brass handle. They slipped into the back pew. Maya pressed close to his side. Familiar faces filled the sanctuary, the Johnsons, the Patel family who attended despite being Hindu. Pastor B makes everyone feel welcome, Mrs. Patel always said, the widow Martinez with her rotating collection of grandchildren. Some nodded, others studied their hymnals with sudden intensity. Brothers and sisters. Pastor B's voice rang from the pulpit, and her eyes found them immediately. We have warriors of conscience among us today. Whispers rippled through the congregation like wind through wheat. Darius Cole, Maya Cole. Come forward. Maya's fingers dug into his arm. Dad, it's okay. They walked the center aisle, each step echoing. Mrs. Henderson's lips pursed. Tom Bradley, whose son rode the bus, stood and began clapping. Others joined maybe half the congregation, while the rest remained seated, hands folded, expressions carved from stone. This man, Pastor B placed a hand on Darius's shoulder, followed the still, small voice. When policy said go straight, conscience said turn. When routine said stay the course, the spirit said not today. He broke the rules, someone muttered from the middle pews. Pastor B's gaze could have melted steel. So did Moses when he struck the rock. So did David when he ate the sacred bread. So did Jesus when he healed on the Sabbath. Sometimes, church, obedience to God, requires disobedience to man. She raised her hands. Let us pray for courage in storms, for those who stand when standing costs everything, for children who need protectors, and protectors who need community. The prayer lasted long enough for Darius to memorize every scratch in the communion table, every water stain on the ceiling. When it ended, the congregation split like the Red Sea, some surrounding them with hugs and handshakes, others filing out through side doors. Coffee and fellowship downstairs, Pastor B announced, but her eyes said she knew half wouldn't stay. In the basement, over weak coffee and store-bought cookies, the divide showed clearer. The veterans clustered around Darius. The choir ladies fussed over Maya, but empty chairs gaped where the Fullers usually sat, where the school board members normally held court. They're scared. Ruth Bennett appeared at his elbow, coffee cup trembling slightly. Harper's got influence. The utility company employs 60 people in town. So I'm the sacrifice. Not if I can help it. She squeezed his arm, then moved away before anyone noticed. The afternoon mail brought no Sunday rest. The letter bore the school district seal, thick paper that felt like judgment. Dear Mr. Cole, you are hereby notified of a disciplinary hearing scheduled for September 18th at 7:00 p.m. regarding violation of Transportation Policy 4.3. 1. Unauthorized route deviation. This hearing will determine your eligibility for continued employment. Maya read over his shoulder. 2 weeks. That's the day of my art show. We'll figure it out. No, we won't. You'll miss it because of this stupid. She ran to her room, slamming the door. Darius sat at the kitchen table, the letter spreading ripples through his coffee. Outside, the Hendersons walked past again, still on the opposite sidewalk. Night had settled deep when footsteps crossed the porch. Through the peephole, Sophie Lynn stood under the porch light, manila envelope in hand. I'm not talking to reporters. I'm not here as a reporter. She thrust the envelope forward. I'm here as someone who hates watching good people get buried. The envelope weighed more than paper should. Inside, photocopies of maintenance logs, complaint forms, emails. Darius spread them across the kitchen table like tarot cards revealing fate. April 3rd. Resident reports gas smell. Maple and 10th. Riverworks notified. April 19th. Follow-up complaint. Getting stronger. Marked resolved. No repair documented. May 1st. Business owner calls emergency line. Told. Scheduled for next maintenance cycle. Sophie's sticky notes marked the crucial parts. 3 complaints. 6 weeks. All ignored. Why? Why? Look at the bottom of the work orders. Each form bore the same signature authorizing delays. Wade Harper, Infrastructure Committee. He pushed everything past the election. Didn't want construction disrupting his campaign events. Sophie pulled out another sheet. This is from a source at Riverworks. They wanted to fix it. Harper told them to wait. Darius traced the dates. Each complaint ignored. Each delay approved. Each decision that led to Maple and 10th. If you hadn't turned, 23 kids would be dead. Sophie's voice carried no emotion, just fact. And Harper's trying to make you the villain so no one looks at these. Maya's door creaked. She padded out in pajamas, rubbing her eyes. Dad? Who's here? Just someone dropping off papers. Go back to bed. But she saw the spread of documents, his face, Sophie's intensity. Is this about Monday? The CPS visit? No, baby. Different problem. She settled beside him anyway, head drooping toward her abandoned sketchbook. Same problem. Everyone's afraid of something. Sophie gathered her copies. I can't publish yet. Need more sources. But Darius, you're not crazy. You're not reckless. You're inconvenient. There's a difference. After she left, Darius sat in the kitchen's yellow light, documents spread like evidence, Maya's breathing soft beside him. Her sketchbook lay open to a drawing of the bus, but now storm clouds gathered above it. The refrigerator hummed. The clock ticked toward Monday. Somewhere in town, Harper probably slept soundly, confident his plan would work. The question hung in the air like gas fumes, invisible but undeniable. When saving children makes you a scapegoat, what kind of town had Hearthfield become? Monday morning arrived with September's first real chill. Darius walked Maya to school, her hand warm in his, both pretending not to notice the shift in sidewalk traffic. Morning, Darius. Mrs. Chen waved from her garden, pruning shears raised like a salute. But across the street, Tom Fuller ushered his twins away, suddenly fascinated by something on his phone. The Morrison family, usually chatty at the crossing, kept their distance, mother's hand firm on her son's shoulder. Why won't Timmy's mom look at us? Maya asked. People process fear differently. She's not afraid. She's choosing sides. Sometimes 10-year-olds saw too clearly. At the school entrance, Ruth stood greeting families. Their eyes met over the crowd. She mouthed, "Hang in there," before returning to her professional smile. The bus depot felt like foreign territory without his keys. Drivers clustered near the coffee pot, conversation dying as he entered. Darius Cole. Big Eddie Kowalski, who'd served in Desert Storm, crossed the break room in 3 strides. His hug lifted Darius off his feet. "Brother, you did what any of us should have done. Any of us with a death wish," Rick Jameson muttered into his coffee. "Some of us follow protocol for a reason. Protocol would have killed those kids. Your guess could have killed them too. What if you'd turned into the leak instead of away?" Eddie's fist clenched. Darius touched his arm. "Stand down." "I get it, Rick. You've got 4 years till pension. Can't risk it." "That's not." Rick's face reddened. "You made us all look like cowards. Now parents wonder why we didn't smell it, why we wouldn't have turned. You set an impossible standard." "I set no standard. I followed my gut." "Must be nice having a gut that gets you on the news." Rick shouldered past. "Rest of us just got bills." Eddie shook his head. "Ignore him. Half the drivers got your back. And half don't. The half that matter do." Lionel Drake appeared in his office doorway, tie loose, exhaustion written in the bags under his eyes. "Darius, didn't expect to see you. Just saying hello. The board's breathing down my neck. Parents calling non-stop. Some want you sainted. Others want you gone." He rubbed his temples. "I've been doing this 23 years. Never had a driver save lives by breaking rules. Would you have turned?" Lionel stared at the route maps covering his wall, each line a promise of safety. "I want to say yes. But I've trained myself so hard to follow procedure, I honestly don't know." Evening brought unexpected visitors. 3 pickup trucks parked outside, veterans spilling out like a tactical unit. Jim Reeves led them, Silver Star from Vietnam pinned to his trucker cap. "Saw the news about your hearing." Jim settled on the couch like he belonged there. "Remember what we always said in the motor pool? You watch the road, we've got your 6. The 5 men filled his small living room, presence solid as armor. Already talked to a lawyer, buddy from the JAG Corps, retired here. "He'll take your case pro bono." Maya peeked from her doorway. The men straightened, suddenly formal. "This the artist?" Jim asked. "Heard you draw maps." She nodded, shy but curious. "My granddaughter draws too. Horses mostly." "What do you draw?" "Safe roads." She retrieved her latest piece, spreading it on the coffee table. The men leaned in. She'd drawn Hearthfield from above, streets branching like veins. But some roads glowed gold, others silver, a few deep red. "Gold is where good things happen," she explained. "Silver is normal. Red is where danger hides," Darius finished. "But look," her finger traced alternative routes. "There's always another way. Even from the scary places." Jim cleared his throat, suddenly gruff. "That's tactical thinking, young lady. You'd make a good navigator," Pastor B called while the veterans strategized. "Tomorrow night, listening circle at the church. No sides, no judgment, just truth and grace. Think anyone will come?" Already got 40 confirmations, including some surprises. After the men left, promising reconnaissance and support, Darius found Maya adding to her map. New gold lines appeared, connecting the veterans' houses to theirs. "What are those?" "Help roads, where people come from when you need them." He pulled her close, breathing in her shampoo and pencil-lead scent. "You know I might lose this fight." "No, you won't." "How can you be sure?" She pointed to her map, to the intersection of Maple and 10th, now marked with a small angel. "Because you already chose the right road. The rest is just everyone else catching up." Outside, September wind rattled the windows. The CPS visit loomed Monday. The hearing waited 2 weeks out. But in the warm circle of kitchen light, father and daughter bent over the map, adding gold lines wherever hope still lived, wherever courage chose the harder turn. The phone rang. Sophie Lynn, voice urgent. "Darius? I found something. Can we meet tomorrow?" The map spread before them, all of Hearthfield's possibilities traced in a child's careful hand. Somewhere in those lines lay vindication or ruin. But tonight, with Maya's faith warm beside him, every road seemed to lead toward light. Sophie Lynn arrived Monday morning with a banker's box and determination etched in every line of her face. She spread documents across Darius's kitchen table like evidence at a trial. 3 complaints. She tapped the first paper. Mrs. Chen, at the bakery, 2 weeks before the explosion. Smell of gas, asked for immediate inspection. What happened? Riverworks logged it as non-priority. See this? Her finger traced a handwritten note in the margin. Delayed pending Harbor Street contract completion. Maya leaned in from her cereal bowl. They knew? They knew something. Look, Sophie pulled out another file. Harbor Street renovation, $3 million contract. Riverworks pushed everything else back to finish it before the mayoral elections. Darius studied the timeline. Each postponed inspection marked in red. Maple Street pushed back, back, back. It gets worse. Sophie produced a glossy photograph. Wade Harper shaking hands with a heavy-set man in a hard hat, both grinning beside a golden shovel. Riverworks ribbon cutting 6 months ago. That's CEO Marcus Webb. And here, another photo. Harper's campaign finance report. Webb's company donated $15,000. That's legal? Legal doesn't mean right. Sophie's parents had fled corruption in Taiwan. Her voice carried inherited anger. They gambled with lives for profit and politics. Maya traced the photos with one finger. Mr. Harper knows my friend Lily. Her mom works at City Hall. Lot of people work at City Hall, Sophie said carefully. Doesn't mean they all knew. Can you prove Harper knew about the complaints? Not yet. But I've got 2 sources willing to talk off record. Give me time. That afternoon, the church basement filled with unexpected faces. Pastor B had arranged chairs in a circle, no head table, no hierarchy. Veterans occupied one section, their wives beside them. Abuela Elena commanded another arc, surrounded by her informal network of grandmothers who watched the bus stops. Parents filled the gaps, some supportive, others skeptical. We're not here to argue, Pastor B began. We're here to remember that fear divides, but truth unites. Old Samuel Morris, 93 and sharp as winter, spoke first. Spring of '67 tornado came through. Nobody had warning systems like now, but Lloyd Tucker drove the milk route. He saw the green sky and started honking his horn up and down Mill Street. Woke everybody. 20 houses destroyed, but no lives lost because one man trusted his instincts. Other stories followed. The ice storm when neighbors shared generators, the flood when teenagers sandbagged all night. Each tale a reminder that Hearthfield had survived through people who acted first, asked permission later. Tomas sat beside Abuela, practically vibrating with nervous energy. Maya had been drawing throughout the stories, but she kept glancing at him, offering encouraging smiles. Finally, during a pause, his small voice cracked. I knew something. The room turned. Abuela's hand found his shoulder. Before the explosion, I was walking to school early, filming things for my project. The bakery. He swallowed hard. There was hissing, like a snake but bigger, and the smell. When was this? Ruth Bennett asked gently. Thursday, 5 days before. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Someone muttered about kids making things up, but Jim Reeves stood, his presence commanding silence. Boys got courage to speak now, more than some adults I could name. Tomas continued, stronger now. I filmed it. The sound. On my phone. I still have it. Why didn't you tell anyone? A parent asked, not unkindly. I was scared. My English. Sometimes people don't understand me. And the men working there, they looked angry. I thought I'd get in trouble. You did nothing wrong, Pastor B assured him. Fear keeps us all silent sometimes. I can bring the video, Tomas offered. Tomorrow, I'll show everyone. The meeting continued, but something had shifted. A child's confession had cracked the wall between sides. Parents who'd questioned Darius now questioned what else had been hidden. Veterans exchanged meaningful looks, evidence was mounting. That evening, after Maya had retreated to homework, Ruth Bennett climbed the porch steps carrying a covered pot. Steam escaped when she lifted the lid. Chicken soup, rich with vegetables and warmth. Thought you could use this. You didn't have to. I wanted to. She settled on the porch swing, autumn air crisp around them. My husband was a firefighter. 20 years of running toward danger while others ran away. Darius joined her, the swing creaking gently. Must have been hard. The fear was hard. But the pride. She smiled, remembering. He'd come home smelling of smoke and salvation. Said the worst calls were the ones that could have been prevented. Like Maple Street. Like Maple Street. She turned to face him fully. What you did, changing that route, Robert would have called it divine instinct. The voice that whispers when lives hang in the balance. Not everyone sees it that way. Then they're fools. Her hand found his on the swing chain. I've run that school 12 years, seen hundreds of drivers. You're the only one who hums hymns at stop signs, who knows every child's name, who treats that bus like a sanctuary on wheels. Their fingers intertwined, tentative but warm. I trust you, Darius Cole, completely. The word hung between them, trust, more precious than hero, more solid than hope. Maya watched from her bedroom window, adding a new golden line to her map, one connecting their house to the principal's, labeled simply, maybe. The phone's harsh buzz pulled Darius from sleep at 5:47 a.m. Not his alarm notifications, dozens of them, cascading down his screen like digital hail. Dad? Maya stood in his doorway, her own phone glowing. Something's wrong. The video had already been shared 8,000 times. Someone had posted his dash cam footage, except it wasn't complete. The clip showed him steering down Willow Street, calm as Sunday morning, children singing behind him, but the audio cut precisely where his radio call should have been. No road concern, no warning to dispatch, just a man inexplicably abandoning his route. The caption read, "Hero or reckless? You decide." Comments poured in faster than rain. Knew something was up with this story. My kids were on that bus. What if he'd been wrong? Probably staged the whole thing. Maya's face crumpled. Who would do this? Before Darius could answer, car doors slammed outside. Through the kitchen window, news vans clustered like wasps at a picnic. Reporters already positioning themselves on his lawn, adjusting their hair for morning broadcasts. Get dressed, baby. We're going out the back. But the back door revealed more cameras. A blonde reporter thrust a microphone forward. Mr. Cole, did you alert dispatch before changing routes? Was this a publicity stunt? Are you worried about criminal charges? Darius shielded Maya, guiding her back inside. Through the thin walls they heard the Carnival Barker chorus. Darius Cole, the bus driver who's become a controversial figure overnight. The doorbell rang, then pounding. Maya pressed against him, trembling. "Don't answer it," she whispered, but the voice that followed was familiar, furious, and decidedly not English. "Sinvergüenzas, fuera de aquí." Abuela Elena stood on the porch, wielding a broom like a battle staff, scattering reporters like pigeons. She wore her church dress and combat face, a combination that had cowed 3 generations of grandchildren. "You want story? I give you story. This man saved my Tomas, save all the children." "You," she pointed at the blonde reporter, "you have children? You want driver who follows rules or driver who follows God?" She pushed through the door, slamming it behind her. "Vultures. Worse than vultures. At least vultures wait until you're dead." Her arms wrapped around Maya, then Darius. "You don't watch the TV today, yes?" Poisonous tongues, all of them. But the damage was spreading. Darius's phone rang. Lionel Drake, his supervisor. Have you seen the news? The edited video? Yes. Channel 7's running it every 15 minutes. And Harper? Lionel paused, choosing words carefully. He gave a statement. Darius found the clip on his phone. Harper stood before City Hall, his politician's smile perfectly calibrated for concern. Heroes sometimes make reckless choices too. That's what makes them heroes, and also what makes them dangerous. We need to investigate whether Mr. Cole's decision, however fortunate the outcome, followed proper safety protocols. Our children deserve both brave drivers and safe drivers. The words twisted like a knife. Dangerous, the kind of word that stuck, that followed a man. That snake, Abuela hissed. That serpiente in a suit, he knows what he does. Maya hadn't moved from the couch, still in her pajamas, eyes red. Kids are going to see this. Baby, they already are. She showed him her phone. Group texts from classmates. Is your dad going to jail? My mom says he's a fraud. Hero to zero, lol. Darius knelt before his daughter. Look at me. She wouldn't. Maya. Eyes up, soldier. An old game from when she was little. She met his gaze, tears flowing. You know what's true? You saved everyone. And what else? You. You called it in. That's right. And who knows that? Dispatch. The other drivers who heard it. So, what are we going to do? Maya wiped her nose. Prove it? That's my girl. Abuela started pulling containers from her massive purse, enough food to feed a battalion. First, we eat. Then, we fight. Empty stomach makes empty courage. She commanded the kitchen, filling it with the scent of eggs and chorizo. Normalcy in the storm. Through the window, reporters maintained their vigil. Sophie Lynn stood apart from the pack, typing furiously on her phone. That evening, after Abuela had frightened off the last reporter with threats of calling her entire church prayer chain to form a human barrier, they sat for proper dinner. Maya pushed her rice around, building small mountains and valleys. Samantha's mom told her not to talk to me. Samantha's mom is scared, Darius replied. Fear makes people cruel. But you're not scared? He was terrified of losing his job, losing custody, losing the respect his daughter held in her eyes. But those weren't words for 10-year-old ears. I'm concerned, but I'm not scared of the truth. What if the truth doesn't matter? Abuela reached across the table, covering Maya's small hand with her weathered one. Mija, listen. The truth, she is like water. Sometimes she goes underground, yes? Hidden. But always, always, she finds a way up. Through the cracks, through the stones. Patient, but powerful. How long does it take? Sometimes days, sometimes years. But Abuela's eyes blazed with certainty. Your papa, he has something better than time. He has us. Later, after Maya had cried herself to exhaustion and fallen asleep, drawing another map, this one showing truth as golden rivers flowing through dark valleys. Darius stood at his bedroom window. The reporters had finally dispersed, leaving only tire tracks in his lawn. His phone showed 17 missed calls, 3 from Ruth Bennett. He'd call her back tomorrow. Tonight, he needed to think. The edited video played on repeat in his mind. Someone had deliberately cut it, shaped it into a weapon. Someone who had access to the footage, who knew exactly where to slice to cause maximum damage. The truth has a way of finding the road back, he whispered to his own reflection, praying he was right. Tomorrow, Tomas would bring his video. Tomorrow, Sophie would publish what she'd found. Tomorrow, the truth would start its journey up through the cracks. Tonight, he would stand guard over his daughter's dreams and plan the route forward. The rest of the week crawled by like traffic through construction zones. Each morning brought fresh whispers, new stares. Darius kept to his routine, walking Maya to school, returning to an empty house, filling out job applications he knew wouldn't be considered until his name cleared. Thursday afternoon, Ruth Bennett called. You're coming to Grand Friends Day tomorrow. Ruth, I don't think. It's not a request. The children specifically asked for you. The parents, Can deal with it. 1 o'clock, auditorium. Maya already knows. She hung up before he could protest further. That night Maya bounced on her toes as she packed her backpack. Mrs. Bennett says you're reading poetry. I haven't agreed to anything. Dad. She fixed him with her mother's look, the one that brooked no argument. The kids need to see you. I need them to see you. Friday arrived gray and uncertain. Darius pressed his good shirt, the one he'd worn to job interviews after the army. Maya insisted on leaving early, practically dragging him through the school doors. The hallway felt different, a charge in the air. They rounded the corner to the auditorium, and Darius stopped. Children lined both walls, holding handmade signs. Mr. Cole keeps us safe. Thank you for taking the better road. Heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they drive buses. Tomas stood near the door, clutching a poster with carefully drawn letters, "You taught me to speak up." Mr. Cole! A kindergartner rushed forward, grabbing his hand, then another. Soon a small parade escorted him into the auditorium, where rows of seniors and children sat intermixed. Some parents clustered near the exits, arms crossed. But more smiled, nodded, even applauded. Ruth stood at the podium. Today we celebrate the wisdom of generations and the courage found in ordinary moments. Mr. Darius Cole has agreed to share a poem that speaks to choices we all face. His legs felt wooden climbing the stage steps. The microphone seemed too tall, then too short. He adjusted it twice before opening the worn anthology Maya had pressed into his hands that morning. "This is by Robert Frost," he began, voice catching. "A poem about roads." He read slowly, letting each word settle. 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood. At yellow, several children giggled like their buses. He smiled, continuing, "And sorry I could not travel both." His voice steadied as he reached the crucial lines. 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Silence. Then he looked up from the page. "Every day we choose our roads. Sometimes the right road isn't the easiest one. It's not the one everyone expects. But when something inside, call it instinct, call it conscience, call it God, when something says, 'Turn here,' we have to listen, even when it breaks the rules, even when people don't understand." A 3rd grader raised her hand. "Like when you smelled the bad smell?" "Exactly like that. My grandma says you have a nose like a guardian angel." Another child piped up. Soft laughter rippled through the crowd. Ruth stepped forward. "Speaking of angels, the children have prepared something." The stage curtain parted. There stood the entire 3rd and 4th grade, holding up an enormous route map painted on connected poster boards. Each section showed a different part of Hearthfield, drawn in brilliant colors. The bus depot sprouted flowers. The school wore a crown. Streets curved like rainbows. "We made this together," announced Jenny, a 4th grader with pigtails. Every kid drew their favorite safe place along Mr. Cole's routes. They'd labeled everything. Maria's Corner, where Mr. Cole waits for late runners. The stop sign where he counts us twice. Puddle Avenue, he goes slow so we don't get splashed. Maya stepped forward from the group, holding her own edition. She'd drawn Darius at the wheel, but with wings spreading from his shoulders, not feathered angel wings, but wings made entirely of road signs. Stop signs, yield signs, children crossing signs, all forming protective arcs around a small, careful portrait of his face. "This goes in the middle," she announced, attaching it to the heart of the map. The auditorium erupted. Seniors dabbed eyes. Children cheered. Even some of the stern-faced parents softened. Darius felt his throat close completely. These kids, they saw him, not the edited video, not the controversy. Him. "Thank you," he managed. This is everything." After the assembly, as children and grandparents filed out clutching hands and cookies, Ruth led him to her office. "That was important," she said, closing the door. "They needed to show you." "Ruth, let me finish. Maya needs to see this town embrace her father. She's been so worried, barely eating lunch, jumping at sounds. You've been watching her? Of course I have. Ruth moved closer, her hand briefly touching his arm. She's lucky to have you. This town is lucky. The afternoon light through her office window caught the silver in her hair, the kindness lines around her eyes. For a moment, Darius forgot the cameras, the investigation, the weight crushing his chest. Here was something gentle, possible, good. Ruth, when this is over. His phone buzzed. Lionel's name flashed on the screen. Just reminding you, Lionel's voice was carefully neutral. Monday's hearing. 2 o'clock. Bring any supporting documents. The spell broke. Ruth stepped back, professional distance returning. You should take that map home, she said quietly. Frame it. Remember that no matter what happens Monday, those children know exactly who you are. Darius nodded, gathered the enormous map, and went to find Maya. She stood by the exit, backpack on, watching him with worried eyes. Ready, baby? Dad? That was good, right? Today was good? He looked at the map in his arms, thought of the children's faces, Ruth's almost touch. Yeah, baby. Today was good. But Monday loomed like storm clouds ahead. The Hearthfield Hawks Stadium blazed under Friday night lights, packed beyond capacity. The smell of popcorn and hot dogs mixed with crisp October air. Veterans lined the track in dress uniforms, American flags rippling. The church choir, wearing matching blue scarves, practiced scales near the south end zone. Maya bounced on her toes beside Ruth, clutching Abuela's old camera. Can you see him? She asked for the third time. He's right there, honey. Ruth pointed to where Darius stood with other honorees near the home bench, wearing his best shirt, the one Maya had ironed twice that afternoon. The Hawks led 21-14 at halftime. As players jogged off, Principal Myers took the microphone at midfield. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we honor extraordinary service to our community. The crowd quieted. Someone killed the music. 2 weeks ago, one of our school bus drivers made a split-second decision that saved 37 children. His quick thinking prevented tragedy. Cheers erupted. Maya raised the camera. Please welcome to the field Darius Cole. The stadium exploded. Veterans saluted. The choir launched into God Bless America. Darius walked onto the field, each step measured, uncertain. Under the lights his face showed everything: pride, embarrassment, worry. Councilman Harper emerged from the dignitaries section, medal box in hand. His smile stretched wide for the cameras. He'd combed his silver hair special, worn his best suit. The crowd's energy seemed to lift him. Darius, Harper's voice boomed through the wireless mic, on behalf of grateful families across Hearthfield, I present you with our Valor in Service Medal. He opened the velvet box. The medal caught the stadium lights bronze, with a ribbon of blue and gold. Maya pressed the camera button repeatedly, the flash joining dozens of others. Harper reached up to pin it on Darius's shirt. His hands fumbled slightly, the pin was stubborn. The crowd laughed warmly. Even Darius smiled. There we go, Harper announced. A hero properly recognized. The roar was deafening. Veterans fired a salute. The choir swelled into the harmony. Maya jumped up and down, waving. Darius touched the medal gently, eyes finding his daughter in the stands. Then movement at the north gate. 3 figures in dark suits crossed the track, walking with purpose. State badges glinted at their belts. The choir faltered, voices dropping out one by one. The lead investigator, a tall woman with pulled-back hair, climbed the platform steps. Excuse me. She didn't need the microphone, her voice carried. Mr. Cole? The stadium fell silent. Someone dropped a soda can. It clattered like thunder. I'm Investigator Sarah Brennan, State Department of Transportation Safety. She held up her badge. We need to inform you of a formal inquiry. Harper stepped back so fast he nearly tripped. The metal box fell, clattering on the platform. What inquiry? Principal Myers asked. Mr. Cole is under investigation for endangering minors by deviating from established safety protocols on October 14th. Brennan's voice was flat, procedural. This is a notice of pending administrative action. Gasps rippled through the crowd like wind through wheat. Maya's camera slipped from her fingers. "This is ridiculous!" someone shouted from the stands. "He saved those kids." Brennan remained unmoved. "Protocol exists for a reason. Unauthorized route changes put children at risk." Mr. Cole failed to follow proper channels. Harper had already disappeared into the crowd. The medal lay abandoned on the platform, its ribbon twisted. "Ma'am," Darius spoke quietly, "could we discuss this somewhere? The inquiry begins Monday. You'll receive formal documentation." She turned to the stunned crowd. "I apologize for the disruption. Please enjoy your evening." The investigators filed off as quickly as they'd come. The stadium lights felt suddenly harsh, exposing. Someone in the stands started booing, others joined, but Darius wasn't looking at them. He was watching Maya. She stood frozen, tears streaming. Ruth had wrapped both arms around her, but Maya wasn't moving, wasn't responding, just staring at her father on that platform, medal unpinned, shoulders sagging. Darius walked off the field. Not quickly, not running, just walking, head down, hands empty. The crowd parted silently. A few veterans maintained their salute as he passed, tears on weathered faces. "Dad?" Maya broke free from Ruth, running down the bleacher steps. She crashed into him at the gate. He caught her, held her, as she sobbed into his shirt. "They're wrong," she choked out. "They're wrong, they're wrong, they're wrong." "Shh, baby. You saved everyone. You saved Tomas and Jenny and—" "I know. Why are they doing this?" He didn't have an answer. Above them, the stadium lights flickered. The game was resuming, players returning to the field, but the energy had drained away. The choir packed up their scarves. Veterans lowered their flags. Ruth approached, carrying Maya's dropped camera and the abandoned medal. "This belongs to you," she said firmly, pressing the medal into his hand. "They didn't even pin it," Maya whispered. "Then we'll pin it at home," Ruth said. "Where it matters." Lionel appeared from the crowd, face grim. "Darius, I just got a call. The board wants you at an emergency meeting tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's Saturday. They're not waiting." Lionel's voice dropped. "There's talk of immediate termination, and someone called CPS again. They're expediting the home visit." Maya's sob cut through the night air like broken glass. The stadium lights went dark behind them as they walked to the parking lot. 3 figures against the night, a man carrying a medal that was never pinned, a child whose faith was cracking, and a woman holding them both steady against the storm. The envelope arrived at 7:30 Saturday morning, delivered by a nervous courier who wouldn't meet Darius's eyes. Official School District letterhead. His hand shook slightly as he opened it on the porch. Employment terminated, effective immediately. Pending completion of state investigation. Please surrender all district property including keys, uniform, and identification badge to the transportation office by noon today. Maya was still sleeping. He'd let her stay in bed after last night's tears had exhausted her. Now he stood in his kitchen, staring at the bus keys on their worn leather fob. 3 years of mourning Roots. 3 years of mourning Mr. Cole. 3 years of keeping those kids safe. He wrapped the keys in a dish towel, like something precious that might break. At the depot, Lionel waited alone in the office. Saturday quiet. No buses running, no drivers joking over coffee. "I fought them, Darius. Told them this was wrong." "I know you did." Darius set the wrapped keys on the desk. His uniform shirt, freshly laundered and folded. His badge with the photo Maya had insisted he smile for. The board's running scared. Harper's got them convinced that if the state finds liability, "It's all right, Lionel." "No, it's not." Lionel pushed the bundle back. "Keep the keys. Just for now." "Can't do that. Rules are rules." Darius managed a small smile. "That's what got me here, isn't it? Not following them?" The walk home felt longer without the weight of keys in his pocket. The CPS worker arrived at 2 o'clock sharp. "Ms. Garrett," her badge read. "Mid-40s. clipboard ready, eyes that cataloged everything. Mr. Cole. This is a routine welfare assessment following concerns about decision-making that could impact your daughter's safety. Maya had hidden in her room, though Darius could hear her listening through the cracked door. Ms. Garrett toured the house, noting the stocked refrigerator, the smoke detectors, the locks on the medicine cabinet. She photographed Maya's room, the drawings covering every wall, the bookshelf Darius had built himself, the photo of her mother on the nightstand. Does Maya have any behavioral concerns? Anxiety? Acting out? She lost her mother 18 months ago. Some anxiety is normal. And you're addressing this, how? Love, patience, being here. Ms. Garrett made notes. Your recent actions deviating from the bus route. Some might call that impulsive, reckless even. I smelled gas. I protected those children. By violating safety protocols, by preventing them from dying in an explosion. Her pen scratched across the form. Mr. Cole, can you provide a stable environment when you're now unemployed? I'll find work, but currently you have no income? My Army disability covers basics. I'll manage. Financial instability is a factor we must consider. Maya appeared in the doorway, sketchpad clutched to her chest. My dad takes care of me, she said, voice small but firm. He makes breakfast every morning. He helps with homework. He taught me to ride my bike and tie my shoes and, Maya, honey, it's okay, Darius said gently. No, it's not. Her voice cracked. You're trying to take him away because he saved people. Ms. Garrett's expression softened slightly. No one's taking anyone away. We just need to ensure that he follows rules. He followed his heart. Isn't that what parents are supposed to do? The social worker made more notes, asked more questions. Finally, after an hour that felt like 10, she stood. I'll file my report Monday. In the meantime. She paused at the door. Keep doing what you're doing, Mr. Cole. Was that encouragement or warning? The door closed before he could tell. By evening, word had spread. The veterans arrived first, Carl, Jimmy, and Big Tom, arms full of casseroles. None of this, we can't accept nonsense, Carl growled, filling the freezer. Brothers don't let brothers go hungry. Abuela came next with Tomas hiding behind her skirts. Show him, she urged her grandson. Tomas held out his phone with trembling hands. The video was grainy but clear, a Riverworks truck, a worker in coveralls, the hiss of gas audible even through the poor audio. This was last week, Tomas whispered. Before everything. Why didn't you say something? Darius asked gently. I was scared. Nobody listens to kids like me. Darius knelt down. They'll listen now. This video, it proves there was danger. It proves I didn't imagine it. But what if they blame me? For not telling? Son, you're telling now. That's what counts. After they left, after Maya had picked at dinner and retreated to her room, Darius sat alone at the kitchen table. The hook where his keys used to hang was a small nail, barely visible, but he couldn't stop staring at it. His phone buzzed. Ruth's name appeared. I heard about the termination. Her voice was steady, warm despite the distance. Darius, I want you to know I believe in you. The board's wrong. The state's wrong. What you did was right. Doesn't feel right anymore. The truth has a way of surfacing, like gas leaks, I suppose. A pause. Don't give up. The children need to see that sometimes doing right costs everything, but it's still worth doing. After she hung up, Darius remained at the table. Through Maya's cracked door, he could hear her crying softly into her pillow. Outside, November wind rattled the windows. The empty key hook seemed to grow larger in the darkness, a small absence that felt like everything. Dawn crept through the kitchen window, finding Maya already at the counter. She stood on tiptoes, pushing bread into the toaster, her small hands steady despite everything. You're up early, baby girl. She didn't turn around. Thought you might be hungry. The toast popped. She buttered it carefully, cut it diagonal like her mother used to, set it before him with a glass of orange juice. Playing house. Playing strong. Maya, We should leave soon. Don't want to be late. The old Chevy pickup hadn't carried Maya to school in months. Rust spotted the fenders. The heater barely worked, but it ran. That was something. Maya climbed in without complaint, though Darius saw her glance at the empty bus depot as they passed. Kids stared when they pulled up. Some pointed. Others whispered behind hands. "You want me to walk you in?" "No." She grabbed her backpack, then hesitated. "Dad? You're still you, right? Even without the bus?" "I'm still me." "Good." She squared her shoulders. "Then I'm still me too." She marched through the school doors, chin high, and Darius sat in the truck until she disappeared. The empty morning stretched ahead. No route to drive. No children to protect, just hours to fill and bills to worry about. That evening, the church basement hummed with nervous energy. Pastor B had called another listening circle, though fewer people came this time. The tide had shifted. Those who remained the veterans, the choir ladies, a handful of parents clustered in small groups, voices low. Abuela entered with Tomas pressed against her side. The boy's eyes were red-rimmed, his phone clutched in both hands like something that might explode. Darius. Abuela's voice carried that mixture of determination and fear only grandmothers could manage. "Tomas has something." The boy shrank back. "It's okay," Darius said softly. "Whatever it is, I should have told." The words tumbled out. "Last week, before the explosion, I was at the bakery with Abuela, and I heard it, the hissing, and I recorded." His thumb shook as he pressed play. The image was sideways at first, typical of a 9-year-old's filming. Then it steadied. The bakery's brick wall. A Riverworks truck. The sound came through clear, that distinctive hiss of gas escaping. But it was the voices that made Darius lean forward. "Sir, this is the 3rd time we've called about the leak. Look, we've got the Veterans Day parade tomorrow. Downtown'll be packed. We'll get to it after less disruption that way, but it's getting worse. I said we'll handle it. Don't call it in again. We don't need corporate breathing down our necks about overtime." The worker in the Riverworks uniform turned, his face clear in the morning light. The timestamp in the corner read November 7th, 9:47 a.m. 4 days before the explosion, the church basement fell silent. "Tomas." Darius's voice came out rough. "How long have you had this?" "Since it happened, I was scared. I thought they'd blame me for not telling about the gas smell, thought they'd take me away from Abuela like they're trying to take Maya from you." The boy's shoulders shook. Abuela wrapped her arms around him, murmuring in Spanish, but Tomas pulled away, facing Darius. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't say anything." Darius knelt, bringing himself to Tomas's eye level. The boy flinched, expecting anger, disappointment, something harsh. Instead, Darius placed steady hands on his small shoulders. "You know what you just did?" Tomas shook his head. "The bravest thing of all. Braver than driving a different route. Braver than standing up to investigators." Darius's voice caught. "You told the truth when it was hard, when you were scared. That's real courage, son. But I waited. You spoke up when it mattered. That's what counts." Pastor B crossed the room, her presence commanding despite her small frame. "May I?" She held out her hand for the phone. Tomas looked at his grandmother, who nodded. He passed it over. "This changes everything," Pastor B said quietly. "This is proof. Not just that there was danger, but that they knew. They chose to ignore it. We need to get this to Sophie," someone said. "And the investigators," added another. "And that lawyer fellow, the one who helped with the factory settlement." Voices rose, planning, strategizing, but Darius stayed kneeling before Tomas, watching the boy's face transform as he realized he wasn't in trouble, that he'd done something good. "Mr. Cole," Tomas whispered, "will this help you get your job back?" "Maybe, but that's not the important part." "What is?" "You finding your voice. That's worth more than any job." Abuela's hand touched Darius's shoulder. "This boy," she said, accent thick with emotion, "he's been carrying this weight, afraid. But what you did that morning, it showed him courage is possible. We showed each other. Maya had been sitting quietly in the corner, but now she approached, her sketchpad under one arm. She stood before Tomas, studying him with that serious expression she got when drawing. "You saved my dad," she said simply. "That makes you a hero too." Tomas's face crumpled. Maya stepped forward, awkward but determined, and hugged him. Two children who'd learned too young that the world could be dangerous, finding safety in shared truth. The phone passed from hand to hand, each adult watching the video, seeing what they'd suspected confirmed. The danger had been real, known, ignored. And Darius Cole had been the only one to act. Abuela's kitchen smelled of coffee and determination. Sophie Lynn sat at the table, laptop open, fingers flying across keys while Tomas's phone lay beside her. That damning video paused on the Riverworks worker's face. The timestamp matches. Sophie pulled up another window. November 7th, 9:47 a.m. Public safety logs show. She scrolled. Nothing. No report filed. "Because he told them not to call," Maya said from her perch on a stool. "Sketchpad forgotten." "Exactly." The back door opened. Lionel Drake stood there, looking like a man at war with himself. His supervisor's badge caught the kitchen light. "I shouldn't be here, but you are." Abuela pulled out a chair. "Sit." He sat. From his briefcase, he withdrew 2 manila folders, thick with papers. His hands hesitated before sliding them across the table. "What's this?" Sophie asked. 10 years. Lionel's voice carried the weight of those years. 10 years of Darius Cole driving for this district. Perfect safety record, not one incident. Not even a fender scrape. Sophie opened the first folder. Commendations, safety awards. Thank you letters from parents. One, from a mother whose diabetic son had a seizure. Darius had recognized the signs, pulled over, administered the boy's emergency glucose while calling 911. And this? She touched the second folder. Dispatcher's log. Morning of November 11th. Sophie flipped it open. Her finger traced down the entries. There, 7:42 a.m. Driver 31 D. Cole reports road concern at Maple and 10th, taking alternate route. He radioed it in. System was overloaded. 3-car pileup on Highway 9, every available channel jammed with emergency traffic. His call got logged, but no one responded. He followed protocol best he could under the circumstances. Sophie's fingers resumed their dance across the keyboard. Windows opened public records, safety complaints, utility reports. She mapped it all. 3 formal complaints about gas odor on Maple Street, starting October 23rd. Each one marked pending investigation, then mysteriously closed without action. Look at this. She turned the screen toward them. Every complaint closure is signed by the same Riverworks supervisor, the one in Tomas's video. Maya leaned forward, reading, James Garrett, Regional Safety Manager, who reports directly to. Sophie pulled up another document. A corporate structure chart. Riverworks CEO Thomas Brennan, who just happens to be. She opened a news article from 6 months ago, a ribbon-cutting ceremony. Harper shaking hands with Brennan, both men grinning beside a sign. Riverworks' proud partner in Hearthfield's future. Harper's biggest campaign donor. Sophie finished. The kitchen fell quiet except for the hum of the laptop. It's all here, Sophie said finally. Everything. The ignored complaints. The video proof they knew about the danger. The overloaded emergency system. Darius's attempt to report. His perfect safety record. And the money trail connecting Harper to the company that let this happen. She began typing, fingers sure and swift. I can have this ready for tomorrow's online edition. Print deadline is midnight for the day after. Wait. Darius's voice cut through the energy. We need to think about this. What's to think about? This clears you. It also destroys Harper. Probably takes down Riverworks' whole regional operation. That's jobs. Livelihoods. They almost killed children. Maya's voice cracked. They knew about the gas and did nothing. I know, baby. I know. Darius rubbed his face. But truth is heavy. Some folks would rather bury it than carry it. Sophie closed her laptop halfway, studying him. You're worried about backlash. Harper's got deep roots here. 4th generation Hearthfield. His family built half the downtown. You publish this, we're not just taking down a councilman, we're toppling a monument. A rotten monument, Abuela said sharply. One that nearly crushed our babies. Lionel shifted in his chair. There's something else you should know. Internal memo came down today. If Darius isn't reinstated, they're eliminating his route. Budget cuts. Those kids will be split between 3 other buses, adding 20 minutes to some of their commutes. They're punishing the children for my choice? They're covering. Making it about money instead of policy. Harder to fight. Sophie reopened her laptop fully. Then we don't have time to waste. She looked at Darius. You saved those kids' lives. That's the truth. Everything else, Harper's connections, Riverworks' negligence, the system that let it happen, that's truth too. Truth that'll hurt people. Lies already did that. November 11th at 7:45 a.m. Lies literally exploded. Sophie's voice carried the steel of conviction. You want to know what I think? I think Harper and Riverworks and everyone who ignored those complaints, they buried the truth first. Under concrete and profit margins and campaign contributions. Well, I've got a shovel. And I'm ready to dig. She turned to Tomas, who'd been silent, pressed against his grandmother's side. Your video is the key, but I won't use it without your permission. You understand? This is your choice too. The boy looked at Darius, then at Maya, finally at his grandmother. Will it help, Mr. Cole? Yes, Sophie said simply. Then use it. All of it. Brave boy, Abuela murmured, kissing his head. Sophie nodded, already typing. I'll need statements. Lionel, on record about the safety report and the radio logs. Darius, your account of that morning. Tomas, just what you saw and heard, nothing more. What about Harper? Maya asked. I'll call him for comment. Give him the chance to respond. He'll deny everything, probably, but that's his choice, his truth to carry or bury. The kitchen became a war room, Sophie typing. Lionel, providing documentation. Abuela, making more coffee. Maya sketching not angels this time, but roads. All the routes her father had driven safely for 10 years, and Darius, sitting quiet at the center of it all, carrying the weight of truth about to be unleashed. The morning broke gray and cold over Hearthfield. Darius stood at his kitchen window, watching frost creep across the lawn where reporters' vans had camped just days before. Maya sat at the table behind him, refreshing Sophie's article on his old laptop every few seconds, watching the comment count climb. Dad, it's at 3,000 shares. He turned. The headline filled the screen, Hero or Scapegoat, the truth about bus driver Darius Cole. Sophie had laid it all bare, the timeline, the ignored complaints. Tomas's video, a still frame showing the Riverworks truck, the worker's dismissive gesture frozen in pixels. Harper's donor connections mapped in a sidebar graphic. And at the center, Darius's safety record. 10 years, 0 incidents, 1 moment of following instinct that saved 37 children. The doorbell rang, then again, and again. Through the peephole, Darius saw Mrs. Henderson from 2 streets over, the same woman who'd crossed to avoid him at the grocery store yesterday. She held a covered dish and shifted nervously. He opened the door. I'm sorry. The words tumbled out before he could speak. I'm so sorry. I believed I let fear make me stupid. My granddaughter rides your bus. You saved her life and I. She thrust the casserole at him. Tuna noodle. It's not enough, but it's plenty, Darius said gently. Thank you. She wasn't the last. By noon, the porch held a dozen dishes, apology notes tucked under windshield wipers. The Martins from across the street helped Maya build a snowman in the yard, their own quiet penance for the week of silence. Downtown, the veterans gathered at their usual coffee shop: Bill Garrison, Korea; Frank Torres, Vietnam; Marcus Webb, Desert Storm. They passed around a legal pad, drafting a petition in the careful script of men who'd written home from war zones. We, the undersigned veterans of Hearthfield, demand the immediate reinstatement of Darius Cole, whose service to our community's children represents the highest tradition of duty and honor. By evening, they had 200 signatures. Harper's response came through an emergency press conference on the courthouse steps. He wore his best suit, American flag pin prominent, practiced concern creasing his face. These accusations are not only false but politically motivated. Ms. Lynn has a known bias against this administration. The timing of this so-called expose, mere weeks before the election, speaks for itself. I've served this community for 15 years. You served yourself. The voice cut through the crowd. Marcia Phillips, whose twin boys rode Darius's bus. My kids came home that day because one man chose their safety over protocol. Where were you, Councilman? Where was Riverworks when people complained about gas smells? Harper's smile tightened. I understand emotions are running high. Don't you dare. Another parent, Tom Morrison. Don't you dare make this about our emotions when it's about your donors. The crowd stirred. Harper's aide whispered urgently in his ear. He wrapped up quickly, promising a full investigation before retreating into the courthouse. The emergency town meeting that night packed the high school auditorium. Every seat filled, people lining the walls. Harper sat at the council table, face composed but hands restless. Sophie stood in the press section, recorder ready. The public comment period opened. One by one, they rose. A mother described her son's nightmares about what if Mr. Cole hadn't turned. A father admitted he'd been one of the online critics, ashamed now of doubting a man who'd proven his character daily for a decade. Abuela stood, Tomas beside her. This boy was scared to speak about what he saw. Scared of men in trucks who said, "Don't call." But Mr. Cole taught him, courage has many roads. Some lead through fear. Then Ruth Bennett walked to the microphone. The room quieted. As principal, she'd stayed neutral publicly, but her presence here carried weight. I was monitoring the radio system that morning, as I do every morning during bus arrivals. Her voice rang clear. At 7:41 a.m., Darius Cole radioed dispatch about a road concern at Maple and 10th. The dispatcher acknowledged but was handling a multi-vehicle accident on Highway 12. At 7:43, Darius took Willow Street instead. At 7:48, Maple and 10th exploded. She turned to face Harper directly. 7 minutes. That's what separated protocol from catastrophe. Darius Cole made a judgment call that saved 37 children, including Councilman Harper's own great-nephew Jeremy, who boards at the Maple Street stop. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Harper's face drained white. I've submitted my full testimony to the school board, Ruth continued, along with the radio logs, dispatch records, and my professional assessment that Darius Cole represents the best of what we hope for in those who care for our children. The room erupted, parents on their feet, many clutching the safe roads drawings their children had made. Harper tried to speak but was drowned out. The board chair banged his gavel repeatedly. Order! Order! The board will hold a formal public hearing on this matter, Thursday, 7 p.m., in this auditorium. All evidence will be reviewed. All voices heard. As the crowd dispersed, Darius felt a hand on his shoulder. Bill Garrison pressed a thick folder into his hands, the petition, now 500 names strong. Thursday, the old veteran said. We'll be there. Outside, snow began to fall, soft and clean, covering the worn paths with the possibility of new roads. Thursday arrived bitter cold, but the high school gymnasium blazed with warmth. Every folding chair on the basketball court filled by 6:30, families squeezed onto bleachers. Veterans stood along the back wall, straight-backed, hands clasped, a honor guard in flannel and denim. Maya sat front row center, the framed drawing of her father with road sign angel wings balanced on her small lap. Beside her, Abuela held Tomas's hand. The boy clutched his old phone like a talisman. The school board arranged themselves at a long table beneath the scoreboard. Board President Margaret Chen tapped her microphone. This hearing concerns the employment status of Mr. Darius Cole following his route deviation on October 14th. We'll hear evidence, then vote. Mr. Drake, you may begin. Lionel Drake rose from his seat, a manila folder thick as a phone book in his hands. He'd worn his only suit, navy blue and showing its age, but his voice carried authority. Darius Cole has driven for this district 11 years. 0 accidents, 0 safety violations, 0 complaints. He opened the folder, spreading papers across the presenter's table. 14 commendations for helping stranded motorists. 3 perfect attendance awards. 100% pass rate on every safety recertification. He pulled out a single sheet, holding it high. His only deviation from protocol, October 14th, 7:43 a.m. The only black mark on an otherwise spotless record. The only reason 37 children went home that day. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Lionel returned to his seat, jaw set. Sophie Lynn approached next, laptop connected to the gym's projection system. I'd like to play evidence provided by Tomas Alvarez. The lights dimmed. On the wall, grainy phone footage appeared the corner of Maple and 10th, 5 days before the explosion. The image shook as Tomas walked, but the audio rang clear, a distinctive hissing, like air escaping a tire, only louder. Then, voices. A Riverworks truck visible at the frame's edge. Sir, there's still that smell. A shop owner's voice, worried. Look, we'll get to it after the harvest parade. Stop calling it in. You're making my boss nervous about overtime. The timestamp glowed. October 9, 2:15 p.m. Parents gasped. Someone shouted, 5 days. Sophie clicked to the next file, a document log. 3 formal complaints about gas odors at Maple and 10th. September 23rd, October 2nd, October 9th. All marked pending review by Riverworks. The gymnasium erupted, parents on their feet, voices raised. Margaret Chen banged her gavel repeatedly. Order. We'll have order. Ruth Bennett walked to the microphone, waiting for quiet. She wore the same black dress from her husband's funeral years ago, formal, serious, carrying the weight of moments that mattered. At 7:41 a.m. on October 14th, I was in my office, radio scanner on, as always during morning routes. Her voice filled the space. Teacher clear. I heard Darius Cole's voice. Dispatch, this is Bus 47. Got a road concern at Maple and 10th. Strong odor. Proceeding via alternate route. She pulled out a printed log, the official seal visible. Dispatch responded, copy, 47. Log it when you arrive. That acknowledgement came at 7:42. Darius turned onto Willow at 7:43. The explosion occurred at 7:48. She looked directly at the board. 7 minutes. Protocol says drivers should never deviate. Common sense says 37 children are worth any protocol. Darius Cole made a judgment call with incomplete information and seconds to decide. He chose correctly. He saved them all. The voice cracked with emotion. A boy stood in the bleachers, 12 years old, sandy hair, Harper's eyes. Jeremy Harper, the councilman's grandson. I get on at Maple Street, every morning, me and 6 other kids. Tears streamed down his face. We would have been right there, right where the street exploded. He turned to his grandfather, sitting rigid at the board table. Grandpa, why didn't you fix it? Why didn't anyone fix it when people complained? The gymnasium fell silent. Every eye on Wade Harper. Harper's hands trembled as he reached for the microphone. For once, no practiced political smile, no rehearsed phrases. Just a man facing his grandson's tears. Jeremy, his voice cracked. I thought we had time, Riverworks said after the parade. They're contractors, they promised. He stopped, swallowed. No excuses. I chose their timeline over safety. I chose wrong. He stood, facing the crowd. I failed this community, failed our children. While Darius Cole, a man I let become a scapegoat to save my own reputation, he succeeded where I failed. He put children first. Harper pulled out an envelope, hands shaking. My resignation from the utility committee. Effective immediately. He walked to Darius, who sat stunned in the second row. I'm sorry. Deeply, truly sorry. The board huddled briefly, whispers sharp and quick. Margaret Chen returned to the microphone. The board votes unanimously. Darius Cole is reinstated immediately with full back pay. Furthermore, we issue formal commendation for extraordinary judgment under duress. His actions on October 14th represent the highest standard of care for our students. The gymnasium exploded. Not like Maple Street, but with joy. Applause thundered off the walls. Veterans saluted. Parents wept. Children cheered. Maya launched herself at her father, drawing still clutched in her small hands. You're a hero, Daddy. Everybody knows it now. The following Tuesday morning arrived crisp and clear, autumn leaves spinning down like answered prayers. Darius stood in his kitchen, adjusting his uniform collar, the same one he'd packed away just days ago. Maya bounced on her toes, backpack ready. Normal morning again, Daddy? Better than normal, baby girl. The doorbell rang. Through the window, Darius saw a woman in a neat pantsuit, the CPS caseworker from last week. His chest tightened until he noticed her smile. She handed him an envelope. Official closure letter, Mr. Cole. The file's been sealed with commendation. She glanced at Maya, who peeked from behind her father. The community references came in 47 letters. I've never seen anything like it. She paused at the threshold. For what it's worth, my son rides bus 19. After what happened, every parent in this district knows what you did. We're grateful. After she left, Darius opened the letter. One phrase jumped out. Overwhelming community support and proven exceptional dedication as a father. Maya hugged his waist. Told you everyone would understand. That afternoon, Sophie Lynn called with news that made Darius sit down hard. Riverworks held an emergency board meeting. They're establishing a safety any infrastructure scholarship at the community college, $20,000 a year. That's substantial. They want to name it after Keisha. Darius's throat closed. His late wife's name spoken aloud still caught him unprepared. Keisha had taught introduction to civic responsibility at that same college, always telling her students that citizenship meant watching out for each other. She would have liked that, he managed. Kids learning to spot problems, speak up. The announcement's tomorrow. They want you there. I'll think about it. But Maya had already decided, tugging his sleeve. Mom would want us there, Daddy. She always said good things grow from hard ground. Wednesday morning came cloudy but dry. The explosion site at Maple, FIT, 10th looked different, construction barriers down, fresh soil spread where concrete had buckled. The veterans' coffee crew arrived early, hauling shovels and wheelbarrows. Abuela brought her whole church circle, ladies in gardening gloves and determined expressions. Tomas ran up to Darius, phone in hand but not filming yet. Mr. Cole, I'm documenting the rebuild. Sophie says it's important, showing how places heal. His voice carried new confidence. No more hunching, no more hiding behind his grandmother. Pastor B gathered everyone in a circle, her voice carrying over the construction sounds. Sometimes God's strongest roads come from the biggest detours. This corner where fear tried to plant itself becomes a garden. That's resurrection logic, folks. They worked through the morning, parents and children, seniors and teenagers, digging holes for daffodil bulbs. Maya sketched the scene while helping Ruth Bennett plant marigolds along what would become a walking path. "These'll bloom every spring," Ruth said, soil under her fingernails. Reminder that beautiful things grow after hard winters. Their hands brushed, reaching for the watering can. A moment, gentle and unrushed. Councilman Harper arrived around noon, not in his usual suit but work clothes, pushing a wheelbarrow of mulch. People stiffened, conversations pausing. Jeremy Harper ran to his grandfather. "You came. Figured I owed some sweat to this corner." He worked quietly, spreading mulch while others planted. No speeches, no photo opportunities. Just work. Near 2 o'clock, as clouds broke to reveal autumn sun, Abuela called everyone together. She stood where the explosion's center had been, now covered with fresh plantings. "We pray now, all of us, however we pray." She switched between Spanish and English, words flowing like water. "For the drivers who watch our children, for the children who trust us, for the courage to speak when something's wrong, for the wisdom to listen." "Amen," came from dozens of throats, different denominations, different languages, same hope. The centerpiece arrived on a city truck, a simple wooden bench, painted bright yellow like a school bus. Children had decorated the back with handprints in every color. Maya and 3 classmates carried the plaque, bronze letters catching light, "Thank you, drivers, for every safer route." They mounted it together, Darius holding one side, while Lionel Drake secured the other. The supervisor nodded once, firm and respectful. "Good to have you back on the routes, Cole." "Good to be back." Maya grabbed Tomas's phone. "Everyone on the bench, for history." They crowded together, veterans, kids, church ladies, hijabi mothers from the mosque, Harper and his grandson, Ruth and Darius, shoulders touching, Sophie with her notebook, Pastor B in her gardening hat. The lens captured something beyond a moment, a community that had chosen to grow stronger at its broken places. That evening, while Maya painted at the kitchen table, Darius found the scholarship announcement letter. Keisha's photo smiled from the draft press release, the one from her faculty ID, where she'd worn the yellow scarf he'd bought her for their anniversary. 20 kids a year. "Learning to make communities safer," he said aloud. Maya looked up, paint on her nose. "Mom's still teaching, just different now." "Yeah, baby girl. She is." Through the window, the first streetlight flickered on at the new corner park. Someone had already left flowers on the bench. The beginning of something. The better route, finally found. The alarm clock clicked to 5:30 a.m., but Darius was already awake, watching dawn seep through the curtains. His uniform hung on the closet door, pressed sharp, district patch bright against navy fabric. 3 weeks since reinstatement. But this morning felt different. First day with everything truly settled. Maya's feet hit the floor in the next room, quick steps to the bathroom. No anxiety in her movements now, just excitement. "Dad, today's the day." "I know, baby girl." She meant the drawing. After the hearing, she'd taken her sketch to Abuela's nephew, who ran a frame shop. "It needs to be protected," she'd said, serious as a judge. "For history." Darius buttoned his uniform slowly, each button a small ceremony. The fabric still smelled like the industrial laundry service, but underneath coffee, diesel, bubble gum from 100 small hands. His keys clinked as he clipped them to his belt. The weight felt right. In the kitchen, Maya poured cereal with one hand while adjusting the frame with the other. The drawing showed him at the wheel, hands steady, children visible through the back window. But the wings, those were pure Maya. Road signs for feathers, yield, children at play, safe crossing, detour. All the words that had shaped their story. "You sure about hanging this up there?" Kids might tease. Maya's spoon paused. "Let them. They need to remember who keeps them safe." Outside, October painted the maple trees copper and gold. their breath clouded in the cool air as they walked to the bus yard. The yellow buses stood in rows, morning sun turning them amber. "Number 47, Lionel called out, tossing the keys. "Gave her a full inspection yesterday, running smooth." The bus door wheezed open. Maya climbed up first, frame clutched carefully. She'd brought tape the good kind, clear and strong. "Right here." She pointed above the windshield, centered where everyone could see, where you can look up when things get hard. They worked together, Darius holding while she taped, making sure it sat level. The morning light caught the glass, throwing tiny rainbows across the dashboard. "Perfect," she said, then kissed his cheek. "I'll walk to school today. You've got pickups. You sure?" "This is your morning, Dad. Yours and theirs." The first stop, Elm and 3rd. The Anders twins waited with their grandmother, lunch boxes swinging. They climbed aboard, eyes immediately finding the drawing. "Mr. Cole has wings. Angel wings." "Made of signs," he corrected gently, "for finding safer roads." Second stop, the apartment complex on Riverside. 8 kids, 3 languages, one shared relief at seeing him behind the wheel again. Parents waved from balconies. Mrs. Chen ran out with a thermos. Green tea. For steady hands. Third stop, Willow Street, the road that changed everything. Abuela stood at the corner, Tomas beside her, no longer hunched but standing straight. Behind them, the choir mothers held a cardboard sign. "Welcome back, Mr. Cole." Fresh muffins steamed in a basket. "Banana nut," Pastor B announced, climbing the steps to deliver them personally. "Made them at 4 this morning. Couldn't sleep. Too happy." The children cheered as Tomas boarded, actually high-fiving 2 older kids. He sat 3 rows back, not hiding anymore, part of the group. More stops, more children. The Patterson boys, who'd drawn race cars on his route map. Quiet Lily, who testified at the hearing with shaking hands. Jeremy Harper, whose grandfather now served on the school safety committee, earning back trust one meeting at a time. At Cedar Avenue, Ruth Bennett stood at the corner, unusual for a principal. She wore her professional suit but carried a worn thermos, steam curling from the lid. "Thought you might need this." She climbed the steps, voice low enough the kids couldn't hear. "Chicken soup. The kind that fixes more than hunger." Their fingers touched on the thermos handle. Her eyes held something unspoken but clear, not yet, but eventually. When ready. When the time was right. "Ruth," he started. "Drive safe, Darius. We'll talk at the harvest dance, if you're interested." She descended before he could answer, but her smile over her shoulder said she already knew. The bus filled with morning energy gossip, homework comparisons, someone singing off-key, normal sounds, precious sounds. In the big mirror, Darius watched them all, his cargo of trust. "All right, safe roads. Everyone buckled?" "Yes, Cole." The engine rumbled to life. As they passed the corner park at Maple, 10th, several children pointed. The bench sat surrounded by new plantings, someone's bike already locked to it. A man read his paper there, claiming the space for ordinary life. "That's where you saved us," Jeremy said quietly. "That's where we all learned to pay attention," Darius corrected. Everyone watching out for everyone. They turned onto Willow Street, the detour that had become the better route. Morning light flooded through the windshield, catching Maya's drawing. The angel wings seemed to glow. Road signs transformed into something beyond themselves. In the distance, school bells began their early warning chime. Behind them, Hearthfield woke to another day different now, marked by what they'd almost lost and what they'd chosen to build. The bus rumbled forward, bright yellow against autumn trees. Inside, 32 children sang a song about wheels going round. Above them, sketched in careful pencil, an angel made of road signs kept watch. Darius checked his mirrors, adjusted his grip, and drove on. Steady hands, clear eyes, and for the first time in years, a heart that felt whole. The road stretched ahead, full of ordinary turns and everyday choices. He was ready for all of it. If you enjoyed the story, I handpicked this next story that you will enjoy. Please don't miss this one. Click here to watch it.